Welcome back to our next question and answer session. Here's today's question. Dear Father Stephen, thank you very much for answering all the questions. We have enjoyed the videos very much. My children have some questions about Adam and Eve and original sin. Why did Satan sin? Did God make him good? Why did Satan tempt Eve and not Adam? If Eve didn't sin, would we all be in the Garden of Eden now? Did the Garden of Eden physically exist, or was it a state of existence in perfect union with God? God bless. Wow, that's a pretty big question. So there's quite a few questions in there, and it is a difficult question in some ways, but I will try to attempt to answer it as best as I can. So first of all, yes, God made everything that he made to be good, including Satan and the fallen angels. So why are they evil? Well, the reason is that God created us with free will, and free will is a good. The reason free will is a good is not just because we have freedom to choose, but because God wants us to love. And it is only with free will that we are capable of love. In other words, a robot is not loving. If a robot tells you that he loves you, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a program. So God didn't want to program us. God wanted us to be free so that we can choose to love. And if we are free to choose to love, then we are also free to choose not to love. So the question is, why did Satan and the other fallen angels sin? So yes, they were made good. The angelic beings are far superior to human beings. They have a far greater intellect. Their knowledge, their understanding is far, far greater than ours. So all the more reason why someone would ask, well, why would they sin? If their intellect is so much greater, wouldn't they have known the consequences of sin? And the answer is yes. So in order to answer this question, we need to consider how we ourselves can be tempted and what is our purpose, our reason for existence. And the reason for the existence of the angelic beings is very similar. So penny catechisms of old, they would ask the question, who made you? That would be the first question. God made me. Second question, why did God make you? And the answer is, and something that is actually good for us to memorize, God made me to know him, to love him, and to serve him in this life so that I might be happy with him forever in heaven. So God made me to know him, to love him, and to serve him in this life so that I might be happy with him forever in heaven. The order of knowing, loving, and serving is very important because we cannot truly love someone unless we first know the person. We cannot truly serve someone unless we love that person. So the order is important. This is why it's important for us to know God, to study Scripture, to meditate on the truths of our faith so that we can grow in love and hopefully be more at the service of others. So it's our choice whether we make the effort to know, love, and serve God. The reality is that the angelic beings were created for the same purpose, to know, love, and serve God. As human beings, when we look at the scale of rational beings, we are at the very, very bottom. We are the lowest, we are the least capable of intelligence, and this is why God gives us many chances. So when we choose to sin, it's not a permanent choice because we're just not as wise, not as intelligent as the angelic beings. When the angelic beings chose, they chose for all eternity. Their choice was definitive. Their choice was final. There was nothing that would get them to change their choice. Whereas with us, we often regret the choices that we make, or later we realize it wasn't a good choice. The angelic beings would never change their mind because once they choose, they stick with it. So God made them to know, love, and serve him also. But here's the problem. The problem was that they didn't see God in the same way that we don't see God. They knew something about God. They had some idea of God. God had revealed certain things to them, but they had to go a little bit on faith. But because they didn't see God, what did they see? Well, they saw themselves, or they were aware of themselves. They were aware of their greatness, of their beauty, of their abilities. And some of these angels, instead of choosing to know about God, just wanted to fixate on themselves, to know about themselves. Instead of making the effort to love God, they just wanted to love themselves, a selfish kind of love, or they wanted others to love them, to look up to them, to esteem them. And also they didn't want to serve God, but rather they wanted to serve themselves, their own desires, their own desire for pride, to be acknowledged by others, to be looked up to by others. So they wanted to serve themselves, but they also wanted others to serve them. So in reality, they were choosing to be like God, which is the very same sin that Adam and Eve were tempted by. So it's important for us to realize this, and this is why the angelic beings fell. Now, some people say, the devil was like the greatest angel, and that's possible. There's speculation, there's debate about that. Other people say, no, he couldn't have been the greatest angel, because if he was the greatest angel, he would not have fallen. But, once again, it's all speculation, so we don't know. So he may have been a very great angel, and that's also why he's so influential and so powerful in the world, especially when it comes to diabolical possession. So when it's Satan who possesses a person, it's much harder to get rid of Satan than some other demons might be. Okay, so that's in regards to how the angelic beings fell. Now the next question is, why did Satan tempt Eve and not Adam? Actually, before we get to that, sometimes people ask the question, well, okay, if the angelic beings fell, that's fine, but why do they hate us so much? And the reason for that is because they hate God so much. And the reason they hate God so much is they tend to put the blame on God, that God didn't reveal everything to them. So instead of acknowledging their own fault in their pride, they cannot acknowledge their humility, their error, and their fault. And what's really interesting is that the saints, if they offended someone, they would take the blame. They would want to take the blame. People who are not religious, who aren't very prayerful, who aren't very humble, even if they do something wrong, well, it's because you provoked me. It's your fault that I got angry. It's your fault that I got into road rage, and that's why I shot you. It wasn't my fault. They always put the blame on someone else. So it is with the angelic beings that fell. They put the blame on God. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that they made a mistake and are in need of repentance. They won't humble themselves. They will not bend the knee. Same as with many human beings. They will not bend the knee to God. So the reason they hate us is because they know God has a plan for us, and that we can actually attain to a higher level of glory in heaven than they could have attained to. So in many ways, they're jealous of us. They hate us. They don't want us to attain to a higher degree of glory. They don't want us to make it to heaven at all. Because if we make it to heaven, even if we're at the very lowest level of heaven, we're going to be better off than they are. They don't want that. So they also hate us because they know that by hurting us, they can hurt God. Because God, not that he can be hurt in that sense, but it goes against God's plans when we are lost. So they want us to be lost. They want to drag us down into hell. So this is what they want for all of us. And the message for all of us is that we need to be humble. And we need to overcome pride and selfishness. We need to overcome this fixation on ourselves. Instead of seeking to love ourselves and seeking to be loved, we need to make the effort to love God and to love others also, and to use our talents, to use whatever we have to be at the service of others. So, moving on, why did Satan tempt Eve and not Adam? So once again, remember that all of this is speculation. Different people will say different things. In regards to why Satan would have tempted Eve and not Adam first, some have proposed, well, women are the weaker sex. And of course, that's a very sexist thing to say. But in regards to physical strength, that's very true. In regards to intellectual abilities, it's not true. It is true that men and women are different in many ways. Both men and women have strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes the strengths of one make up for the weaknesses of the other, and vice versa. So man and woman are very compatible, because when they work together, they can be extremely efficient and have a very good, fulfilling relationship in that sense. So women, for example, they're more efficient than men. They can get things done. They can get the food on the table more so than men. Some men are very good too. There's always exceptions. But women are also more vocal than men. So women, for example, they can be carrying on a conversation with someone, and they can be kind of listening to someone else's conversation at the same time. And when I've seen women do this, I'm like amazed. Whereas as men, we can only focus on one thing at a time. We're not good at multitasking. Some men are better than others, that's true, but women in general are better at these things. They get things done. Men are sluggish, they're daydreamers. They do say that men are more speculative thinkers, more abstract thinkers. This is why a lot of men are better at math than women, mathematics. So there is some truth to that, but women are also they have more sympathy, more empathy. Women make better nurses. They're better at nursing a child or someone. Even their ability to listen to more than one person at a time is ideal. Imagine a mother who's got more than one child and all the children are trying to talk to her all at once. She can, hear what everybody's saying almost at the same time and focusing on the really important things. Whereas a man is just, okay, one person at a time, I can't think, kind of thing. So men and women have different strengths and different weaknesses. So I don't think it's a good argument to propose the differences in the nature of man and woman or how they think. It is kind of sexist, and we need to keep in mind that they were in the Garden of Eden. They were in a state of grace, and because of that, they knew the truth. And they both had excellent moral ability to carry out the truth, to live out the truth, to say no to temptation and to sin. St. Philip Neri, a great saint of the 1500s and early 1600s, he said that when the devil wants to get a man to fall, he, the devil, will generally make use of the opposite sex, in other words, of women. The reason being that men have a kind of softness for women. Men find women attractive and can easily be swayed or persuaded by women, especially if it's a good-looking woman. So it's not just St. Philip who said this, but many other saints and spiritual authors have said this also. And I think this is closer to the truth of why Satan would have tempted Eve first. Now here's the reality. As human beings, we are very much social beings, and we are easily influenced by peer pressure. Peer pressure is extremely strong. And remember, peer pressure is the desire to want, to please, to fit in, to be accepted by the crowd. So whether it's Eve who would have tempted Adam or Adam who would have tempted Eve, it would have worked both ways. Adam would have been very influential in getting Eve to sin. Eve would have been very influential in getting Adam to sin. But the point is, Satan wanted Adam to fall. The fact that Eve fell is not as important, but he wanted Adam to fall. So if he had Eve on his side, and if he would know that Adam had a soft spot for Eve, which is true, then Eve could be very persuasive in getting Adam to fall. How so? So Eve is tempted, she takes of the fruit, and then she comes to Adam and says, look, Adam, I ate of the fruit, and now I have knowledge. I see things differently. And not only that, Adam, I didn't die. God said the day that you eat of it, you will die. The serpent told me that God wasn't telling the truth. The serpent was right. Now, so Adam would have thought, well, what's going on here? And Adam would have wanted to be with Eve, and if she had fallen, he would want to be with him. But also he sees her, that she's alive, and so he has more doubts. He doesn't know what to do or what to believe, but because he doesn't want to abandon her, her being in that state, it's kind of like there's a separation between them. So he's kind of more inclined to want to join her and to be one with her because she is his beloved, next to God, of course. Now, it's interesting that the temptation to be like God is the only temptation that would have worked. Some people say, oh, was it some sort of sin? The apple, did it represent some specific type of sin? No. The only sin that would have worked is the desire to be like God. Because any other temptation to sin, Adam and Eve would have recognized it instantly. This is the only thing that would really appeal to them. This is the only thing that they want. And this is actually what God created us for, to be like God, but not in the sense of being our own God. So when it says to know good and evil, in other words, we decide for ourselves good and evil, which means we are our own God. No, we are not our own God. We have to be subject to God. And we are to be like God insofar as we are loving and at the service of others, which God is towards us. He loves us and is at our service. So this is why Eve was tempted first, so that it would be more likely that Adam would fall. The next question is, if Eve didn't sin, would we all be in the Garden of Eden now? Probably not. The reason is that even if Eve didn't sin, it's possible that Adam may have sinned. So if Satan tempted Eve and it didn't work, he would have tried something on Adam. It's possible Adam may have fallen. The other thing is that Adam and Eve would have had children in the garden, and their children would have been also tempted. So some of them may have remained in the garden, others would have been kicked out. But as it is, all of mankind fell. Why did Satan want Adam to fall more so than Eve? Because Adam is the head of the whole human race. So if he can get Adam to fall, then all the children of Adam and Eve will be fallen. They will be more under the influence of Satan, which is what he wants. And he knew this. Okay? So the next question, did the Garden of Eden physically exist, or was it a state of existence in perfect union with God? The answer is both of those. So yes, the Garden of Eden physically existed, but was it in a boundary kind of area? Not necessarily. Was it a state of existence in perfect union with God? Yes. And it is this state of perfect existence in union with God that brought about the harmony between God and man, but also between man and the animal kingdom, between man and all of nature. So once Adam and Eve sinned, their union with God, their harmony with God is broken. Their harmony with nature is also broken, which means the animals will no longer respect Adam and Eve. They will attack. And the garden will not be as fruitful, but rather they will have to toil and labor to bring about the fruit. And Adam and Eve will no longer be protected from all harm, but they will be prone to harm. They can fall, they can trip, they can be attacked by wild animals and all these other things. They can get diseases, they can get mutations. And this is why, of course, so many people suffer and die, all on account of the sin of Adam and Eve. So both of those answers. So thank you very much for asking these questions. We are behind in answering them. I am trying to get caught up. Roberto has been very busy recently, so he hasn't been able to help me, but I will try to do what I can to try to get caught up. Please continue to send in your questions, and hope you like our videos, and thank you so much for all your support, and God bless you all. Thank you.